Hey Dale, welcome. Appreciate you taking the time today. I think today what we're going to be chatting about is AI and really the impact on the job market and people's roles and what's scary and what's not scary. But I'd love to maybe just turn it over to you first, maybe for a quick introduction, and we'll go from there.
Sure, of course. So my name's Dale Johnston. I am a managing consultant, a recovering chief information officer. I've held exciting roles in real estate and technology for almost 30 years. So very lucky to have had an amazing career working for some amazing employers. I've worked for all kinds of different property types. Sometimes we pigeon ourselves by working for one particular property type, but I've done commercial, office, industrial, retail, the living sector, student housing, senior housing, just saw the gambit, as well as mixing all of that together in mixed use. So I had a really great experience with real estate. Prior to starting my own consultancy, I was the global chief information officer at Prequin Real Estate, third largest real estate investment manager in the world by AUM, AUA, where I was really lucky to have worked with global teams in all of the regions, APAC, Europe, Latin America, and across the U.S. I also held roles prior to that at public REITs, private REITs, both here in the U.S. and in Canada, where I'm from. So, I am a nerd like you. Educated in Canada with the technology education in computer engineering and technology management, but I've been in real estate for so long. I really do think of myself as a real estate professional. So that's me.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, and I know you and I have chatted a lot about AI and work in it daily as well. And some days I'm working in it and I feel like I'm digging my own grave, and other days I'm working in it and I feel like, oh, there's like an infinity number of things I can and should be doing, and there's a ton of runway in front of me. But maybe first question to you, right? So when we see AI extract a lease, normalize a rent roll, draft an investment memo, what happens to the analyst or the associate that used to spend 80% of their time doing that work? Are they going away? Are they transforming?
So I don't think we have a solution to this problem. The entry level positions really are running head on with AI as education and kind of our employer position descriptions define them. It's a problem we have to solve. But how people work essentially is going to continue to change over time, right? So entry level positions, and the one thing that I find immediately, even ChatGPT 3 was the expertise, right? So if you're a junior entrant in a career, let alone real estate, and you're new to the game, it really can level the playing field and make you an expert, right? Well, you can chat, ask questions. It is your thesaurus, it's your encyclopedia, if anyone remembers what encyclopedias were. It really is able to give people that leg up from an experience perspective. So fret not. You really need to think of how you work differently and evolve. And again, we're totally off script already, but Alex Karp yesterday came out with the whole neurodiversity, how he really believes that his dyslexia is a skill for AI, thinking differently. So maybe we all don't need dyslexia, but we can certainly think differently about how we do our jobs. And really, I think that's how people need to understand what AI is going to be like, whether it's junior entrants, just fresh software developers, or investment analysts or data analysts or leasing agents. How are you going to work differently? Bring that diversity of thought to your job, because AI is going to help you do it. If you try to keep doing your job the way you've traditionally been done, AI is going to eat those tasks and you might be marginalized. So, fear not.
Yeah. That middle ground is funny because there's come across people that are just very resistant to it for some reason, whether it's fear or just being able to take a stop and take a beat and investing the time in education. I'm not sure where it is. It might be a little bit of both, but we see that. And then in a conversation I had with a MD at PwC that's a longtime friend, he sort of divided it up into there's like three roles. There's the domain expert in the middle, then there's sort of the he called them the liberal arts students, the very empathetic, the people skills. And then on the far right, you have the technical skills. And AI is sort of eating up that middle. Everyone gets the ability to sort of level set and be a domain expert. But those other bookends, the highly empathetic and the highly technical, there's still massive needs there. And that those end up being like good like routes to sort of round out.
For sure, yeah. And even outside our industry, I went to an event last night where the chief engineering officer at a large healthcare processor with 2,500 employees and hundreds and hundreds of software developers, they're looking at how they shift their roles and how they change things. So it's, and those are deep technical, like they're processing billions and billions of healthcare claims. It's perverse.
Okay. And I guess that sort of touches on, that phrase that we've been beaten to death by, right? AI won't take your job. Somebody with AI knows how AI could take your job. So are you seeing firms making hiring decisions based on like AI fluency? And yeah, so what are you sort of seeing on like, if you're a new grad coming out of school, how valuable is it? Is it a you must have or it's a nice to have?
I think it's moving quickly towards a must have. Hiring managers are understanding that they don't want to go backwards. They want to fill their roles with efficient employees. And maybe in the early days, I think that statement was true, but it's really run its course for AI is going to take your job. It's no different than we talked about the analogy of the Industrial Revolution, right? If you were a craftsman in the early part of the millennia, you built things by hand one at a time. The Industrial Revolution completely obliterated that, and you became a machinist and a line worker. And again, wages and life increased with that. It's a growing pie, not a single pie. So AI is going to do the same. There's going to be a ton more roles, more technical or domain experience, leveling the playing field. So, look at what type of work you do. Decide if you really want to do that. I mean, now might be the inflection point. If you're an investment analyst doing underwriting in Excel and you don't want to do that anymore, then do something else. Don't try and fight AI. Get out of it. There's going to be tons of jobs. You really need to be looking for, if you lean in, what is the thing that's going to change your job where your effect's more efficient? And again, another thing that they talked about last night, so much of our work-life balance is still below water, right? Work-life balance, work-life integration. Maybe AI is just going to lower the water mark. A lot of companies, if you're a problem solver, they're not going to get rid of you because AI did some of your tasks. They're not going to combine. If you're a problem solver, you're a problem solver, and they're going to, you're going to create new roles. You're going to move into other areas. So I don't think you should worry about being replaced. You should worry about, do you want to shift your job to change how you work? If not, look at a different job. There'll be lots of...
I agree. I feel like AI's gotten us to a point where we could probably do 5 times the amount of work in a day. But that doesn't mean I have Tuesday to Friday off. Somehow I'm still doing like 9-hour days on those rest of the days. So you just get backfilled with other stuff as you get more efficient. So output increases, total amount of work, I guess, also increases in correlation. So jumping to roles that didn't exist 5 years ago, AI prompt manager, data ops lead, prompt engineer, are these real jobs? And are they real jobs that are going to exist specifically in real estate? Or are they tech jobs only?
I really think there's the adoption curve of any technology is peaked and will plateau. I think those jobs, even though a friend of mine has the title of Chief AI Officer, I think that's a reaction to the technology. It will ebb and flow. AI-specific roles, it's going to be part of every job. So why would you have an AI-specific role? I really think there's kind of 2 areas of where roles will be kind of impacted by AI, and that is really the compliance of AI. Remember, as an investment analyst, if I'm underwriting a property or I'm underwriting a portfolio, in Excel, it's visceral. I understand the formulas. I understand the VLOOKUPs. I understand where I got that information from the OM. If I'm a new AI-empowered investment analyst, I need to know the transparency and how that became an underwriting package, right? So your role will shift. It may not have AI in the title. It won't have prompt engineering, but you will be an AI-powered analyst where the grunt work of developing the VLOOKUPs and pulling in data and cutting and pasting and doing all of the, kind of what we think is creative will be sidelined by the understanding of where it came from, understanding, gut checking it, making sure, and again, that's back to kind of where we thought of junior positions not coming online. The other is automation. what tasks as an investment analyst do you do? Do you do the quarterly pipeline reports? Do you do publishing the look backs? What are these things that just, what we've had RPA for 10, 15 years?
Yeah, it's been a while.
AI is just really driving RPA at a robotics process automation at a totally different level of automation. So roles that are, you may have an investment workflow analyst. You may have where there's workflow involved, where you're managing a flow, but the AI agents themselves, or an LLM program is driving the work. That definitely will be a different role, but it'll be based on compliance or automation.
Okay, and I agree, right? Because when I entered the workforce in the early aughts, it was, you would put on your resume proficient in Microsoft Excel, and you'd have to stand that out, right? Now, if you do that, everyone sort of shrugs their shoulder. They're like, you should be, right? So it gets left off resumes, and I feel like that's what's going to happen with AI, where it's, you're going to have to say you're proficient in AI, and it's just another tool in your tool belt. But in 10 years down the line, you'll get laughed at for putting on it, because it's just assumed that you do that. It's just, Excel, Cloud or whatever tool it is, and it's just part of your skill set.
Absolutely, but there's many facets to AI, as you know better than any. There's how well you use the chatbot, right? Like, we never put, hey, I was good at Google search. You didn't put that on your resume, but that was probably one of the most important tools of the last decade, right? Or 2 decades even.
Right.
So Google search and finding information, it's a skill set. It must be there. Working with chatbots will just be there. How you ask questions, do prompt engineering, it's table stakes already. How do you work with autonomous agents? How do you work with external autonomous agents? How do you verify, the data that they're working from? All of these nuances are probably still resumeable, if that's a word, but it's going to be eaten up by it. You just have to have it.
Okay, very cool. I'm going to jump over one question, because I feel like we knew we were going to run out of time, but I want to get to the important stuff, or the stuff that I feel is very valuable. So from a leadership perspective, because I think you have an interesting view, because you've seen companies from top looking down, right? And we've been talking about juniors coming up. But if you're a COO or a head of asset management, and AI is going to change the team's workflows, how do you communicate that to the team without creating panic? And how do you retrain or reposition people rather than, replacing them?
Sure. Stay calm. Do not get caught up in the hype. Don't push your people to get into agentic AI if it doesn't fit your business model. And I've really been lately going back to having people focus on, what is their passion? Where should their energy be? As a company, where are you aligned? Are you starting a new business? Get back to the basics of the business, because ultimately innovation, AI is innovation. It allows you to fundamentally change your business. It's a great tool. If you follow the innovation processes that many businesses have embedded in their cultures and resourced, that's the key to AI. So I really would ask leaders to make sure you focus on your people. What are your customers, investors? Do they know what they can achieve by this technology? How do you make it better at scale, right? We've all been inundated by pilots, proof of concepts, that they're successful, run, the LLM model changes and all of a sudden it's broken. How do you get out of that to really drive at scale? Because that's what businesses need to show ROI. And then really learn how, like event last night, I'm big on this. We've been 9-hour days. I bet you're lying at 9-hour days. There's no way. You probably do way more than that. That's probably what you tell your wife. The employee burnout is a real thing. AI could be the solution for that. So how do you, have people not worry about their jobs, but worry about making their life better? How do they kind of drive towards alleviating that stress, achieving corporate and financial objectives together? And really transparency and communicating, that's what leaders need to do. It's an epiphany moment, how AI is going to come into the business, and how do you drive that as a dual?
That's fascinating, right? And I appreciate you saying that, because I feel like that's what folks need to hear, because I think they automate some of their jobs and now they're only working 6 hours instead of 8, and now their job's at risk. But what you're saying, and I agree, is that as leaders, you should be incentivizing people to work 6 hours and getting them out of the work they were get done, and then give them the 2 hours off, or give them the opportunity to do what they want with that time. It's something more meaningful. And hopefully more leaders are passing that messaging on, that, if you're more efficient, that reward, we shouldn't be filling up your bucket to maximize you, get you back to burnout. But this is a way where make your life easier for yourself. if you're efficient, the company is efficient, the organization is efficient, and everyone hopefully is, sleeping more.
Yeah, making time for training, making time for innovation, making time for ideation. These are
For family.
yeah, or family,
Yeah, or friends, yeah, whatever it may be.
It is absolutely to the company's benefit, and that's the ROI for AI is bringing that water level down for most of your key employees. Because really, again, it goes back to sustainability. If you can keep an employee, because if they burn out or they aren't challenged and go get a job somewhere else, that's your loss. That hits the bottom line. So AI can have different ROIs. It doesn't have to be about cost cutting.
And then, so yeah, to sort of wrap up, maybe a piece of advice from your side on, you are a commercial real estate professional. You're in the middle of your career, right? You're not early on, so you're sort of sitting between like not you specifically, like the person I'm referring to is they're sort of like sitting in that era of like pre AI and post AI. What should they do in the next 90 days to start making sure they're gearing up in the right direction?
Yeah, I mean, following you on LinkedIn, seeing the excitement of how to do things, even if you can't do it yet. And, don't jump into hard use cases, right? Like you tackle, because you're technically proficient and good at what you do, you tackle some pretty meaningful use cases. That's difficult for people, right? It may seem out of reach. Start to look at your own personal life. Downloading your kids' grades out of school, kind of old school RPA stuff that was too nerdy for you to automate. Any of the free LLMs can automate those things for you. Start to understand how you do that in your personal life. And then when you go back to your job, how, you start to have a different lens of things. Oh, geez, that file that I have to open every time and update that I never even thought was a manual task that actually took me 10, 15, 20 minutes, weekly, I'm going to automate that because you've applied this technology to your personal life. So I really encourage people to get off your phones just for a couple hours, get onto an AI platform, pick one. Don't try and pick the latest, just pick one and automate something personal.
I love it. Yeah, that was one of the first things I did, and I totally forgot it was every Sunday send the grocery the meal list, and here's what you're eating Monday through Friday, and it was like on and it was it was 2023, and it's not that long ago, and it was very clunky, but it allowed you to like learn the tool. Now today, you could just write /schedule in Claude Code, and say email me 5 things to eat this week, and then that's it's a great personal use case, and it's a great way you dip your toes, and that immediately then translates to looking at it from a work perspective and say /schedule, well, email me the 5 things I do this week, right? Or I should be focusing on. So yeah, very, very easy to hop from person. You're the first person to mention go after the personal use case first. So I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
Cool. All right, well, Dale, I appreciate you taking the time. I know, again, you're super busy. This is always fun. Of course, we ran over time as expected, but always thanks again.
Happy to be here, and thanks for having me on.
All right. Have a good day.